Did you know you can sponsor your favorite podcast on the Spin Market Podcast Network? Hi, everybody. My name is Peter Stockdale, host of the Spin Market Report. In 2025, our podcast had over 26,000 streams, and our YouTube channels had over 1.4 million views. Whether you're promoting a product, service, or event, we'll help you reach the audience that matters. Get more information on how to sponsor a podcast at spinmarket.com. Spin Market, your business, your message, our platform.
It's the Spin Market Report. Here's your host, Peter Stockdale.
All right, I'm behind the ones and twos off camera today, and our usual producer actually is Mackenzie. She's sitting right in the middle. She's going to do a little bit of the hosting responsibilities here. I'll chime in as well from behind the desk. But let's kind of go around and introduce who's here with us this week. This is going to be a fun episode.
Do you want me to go or you go?
Sure.
I'm Abby. I'm a graphic designer and a web tech here at Spin.
I'm Megan. I do graphic design. I kind of focus more on branding, and I do a bit of web design as well.
And I'm Mackenzie, and I just project manager, help out where I can behind the scenes, let them do their jobs type of role.
Very important.
We wouldn't be the same without her, honestly.
No,
I would definitely say yeah, because I don't do a whole lot of the production anymore for my own podcast, which is actually like super nice to have somebody going out there doing what I call the hard work with communicating with people. But what got you guys like each interested in this kind of work?
So I started out, I probably talked about this on my previous podcast, or our previous podcast, the first one that I was in. But when I was in high school, and it was during COVID, and I was bored out of my mind. So I started to create fan edits, as embarrassing as it is, of One Direction. That's where it all started. And then it kind of took off. I started designing band t-shirts for my high school band, was a band nerd for life. And I found that I really enjoyed it. So I went to Iowa Central, and then I kind of got my degree there in graphic and web tech, and then I moved on to UNI. So I just graduated there with my graphic design bachelor's degree.
Yay. Mine's a little less boring. I have
a little
always
less boring. That's hilarious.
I've always been creative, I guess. But I didn't even know that there was like digital marketing. It's not like super advertised as a thing you could do. So I was actually in college for government, and then I was so bored. So I went and I was like exploring what Iowa Central offered, and this was one of the things that like popped up, and I was like, I'm just gonna go for it. I'm gonna do that. I actually was just in web and didn't know graphic design was an option either. And when they said that you could do both and graduate with both, I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do that, because they kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, double or nothing, right?
Yeah. And I think I only needed one class I had to take over the summer to be able to graduate with both AAs in it.
That's easy.
Well, because I kind of had a little background, so.
Iowa Central has really good bundling options for programs, so it's always a great gig to start there.
Buy one, get one.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Believe it or not, that's actually what I started in, was web design. And then they were like graphic design, and then I dropped out. But congratulations to you two for finishing.
Thank you. We tried.
How about you, Mackenzie? What got you interested in being somebody at the front of the office? Kind of, you're like a dog musher leading from behind the back of the pack.
I mean, I went to school for communication studies and marketing, and all I knew is I wanted to move back home, and it's where I learned the importance of connections and knowing people, because one of my family friends, her mom is part of the community here, and she knew Cheryl and introduced me, and Cheryl was conveniently looking for somebody to be like an admin assistant, and I just called her, and I haven't left since. So,
and what a perfect gig it is, I must say. I think you're just such a personable, easy to speak to person, and having you here is just such a great asset, honestly.
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize this was going to be a pump up episode.
You definitely don't
didn't
realize
either.
how good at communicating you are.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, I do podcasts, and that's literally all I do on the podcast is communicate with people. But when the cameras aren't on, I turn the dial back a little bit, you know. So what does a typical day look like for you guys? I know we've all seen those memes, like what my parents think I do, what my friends think I do, and what I actually do. So what do you guys have? What does a typical day look like for you? What are the misconceptions people think you guys are doing?
Well, for me, I usually start out by going into my very dark office because I don't like overhead lights, so I have a lamp lit in the corner. Very graphic designery trope where we're antisocial, kind of, to an extent. But I do a lot of web work, so I kind of, I might work on some SEO for a client here and there and kind of work on branding or logo design. Common misconception might be that we paint pretty pictures. Like, that's the very, very base of it. Like, that's what someone might think from an outside, or they might just think, like, you sit behind a desk, you put cool pictures together, and that's all it is. But a lot of it, for me, is focused on the branding aspect. So you're focusing on what the client's goals are, what their mission, vision, values, all that stuff to kind of create one cohesive picture that's from the bigger picture of things, brings their brand together and showcases who they are and gives them a name to show to the world.
Most challenging versus most rewarding parts of the job?
Definitely communication would be our most challenging with like clients. And I guess also it could be like my idea and their idea could
clash.
Be complete opposite.
Yeah, and not everyone has the same background, obviously, too.
Yeah.
So from a graphic design standpoint, we might view something, the project deliverables, the process we make, completely different than someone with just, a marketing background or something. So it's kind of really is communication. You really hit the nail on the head there for sure.
Yeah, I think we run into that where people think in their brain, they're like, this is what I want to do. But we all also kind of figured out from experience that like maybe this might not work out as well, but sometimes you have to let them see it first in order to, here's what you wanted, here's what I think. And then sometimes just let them make the choice from there.
Yep.
Or trying to meet in the middle.
So how about starting new projects? How do you balance like what the client wants versus like what we had just talked about? Sometimes like this might be, sometimes simple is better, but sometimes more complex is better. It just depends on the client. So how do you handle that? Or how do you handle a creative block?
Oh gosh, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just got to power through. Sometimes we're on a time crunch for certain projects and we just have to keep going. But there is times where you can kind of have leeway to take a break from your current project and kind of switch modes to another one. And then you have like a completely different project, so you're not feeling as burnt out from your current whatever it is that you're working on. I found for me, I like to take breaks away from the office, but I don't do it nearly as much as I should. So it's definitely, as a graphic designer, you're staring at a computer screen all day. You need fresh air. You need a fresh set of eyes to come back to. And also another thing, speaking of fresh set of eyes, is showing, like Abby and I might collaborate together and I might show her what I'm working on and she can be like, oh, this looks great, or it looks like trash. She usually doesn't say that at all. She's actually very nice. But, you just need a fresh set of eyes sometimes.
Well, yeah. I think that also helps with like creative blocks is getting a fresh set of eyes. So that way I can like be like, I'm stuck on this. I need help.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and like formatting or just realizing like, oh, maybe if you just tweak this little thing, like, oh, I didn't even like that.
Just change the color or make it bold.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like we can get like so stuck in on all the fine details that like when you zoom out, we forget to zoom out, and it's one of those things where sometimes just showing it to somebody else, like, I've looked at this 40 times, like, what do you think of it? And like, even if it's somebody that has no clue what graphic design is, they could be like, I like this and I think this is kind of weird, and that gives you somewhere to go from there.
Yeah, and we don't always inherently look at stuff from another person's point of view. We always just kind of get tunnel vision sometimes too, and you just stare at your own work for so long and you're interpreting it the way you interpret it, but someone else might see it completely different than you do.
Definitely, like finding that balance of like what the client wants and what you are the expert to know what to recommend. So it's just like, that's such a thin line of knowing what to do.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel that, especially when like this job is basically the client wants something, we have to give it to them. Like that is the beginning and end of the job. So you kind of have to, if nothing else, appease the client. But at the same time, like you said, sometimes we've seen things that don't work and somebody wants to repeat the process. Or the other end of it is somebody wants to completely reinvent the wheel when we already know that these things work.
Or they have a different style to you, and it's just like it grinds your gears how it looks, but you know it makes them so happy, so you have to respect that.
Yep, and that's
just
kind
let
of
it go.
part of the joy in graphic design or just working with clients is being able to have that creative freedom to a certain extent. So how can you make it fit the criteria that the client wants to fit? And how can you also put your own twist on it so it's not like every other marketing deliverable you could possibly find online?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately up to the client. You know, maybe their vision is right, and we think, again, you would use air quotes, we're like the experts here, but at the same time, sometimes if it fits their vision, then it works. It works better for their branding, you know, sometimes in those aspects as well. All right, hot button issue. How do you guys use AI in your work, and what do you think about it?
I use it very seldom. I should probably use it more, but it's mainly how to not sound rude in my email.
It's a huge asset for emails.
And not that I think I come off rude. It's just I always get very nervous because people interpret how you say things
100%.
differently, and I'm like, okay, make this sound as nice as possible.
Or I always use it where I put all my thoughts out and it's all over the place, and I want them to have more explanation or build it out essentially. So I'm just this is all my thoughts, but how do I better explain for them to understand this in layman terms? Because it's just we're used to the software and we know the terms.
And I have step-by-step instructions, but make it user-friendly.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think about that with it's not that you're trying to sound mean or whatever in an email, but sometimes it's not professional to put smiley faces and LOL after sentences. So I mean, even though I have done it, shout out to Katie at the Growth Alliance. I usually send her a lot of smiley faces and stuff because we do the same kind of work. But yeah, it's definitely not quote unquote professional to do that. So having a buffer for that is really nice.
Yeah, I have a tendency to add a lot of exclamation points.
You're just excited about that email.
Yeah, exactly.
How about you, Megan? You got anything for the AI talk?
I use mine a lot for copy for certain. If I'm not a copywriter, I can come up with the branding, the brand voice, and kind of how I want it to feel. But I do use AI sometimes to kind of help mold what I already have an idea of into something that actually feels palatable and understandable to a client or to the client's audience base.
I like that answer. So one of the things I had on here was, is there an AI tool you guys would recommend to somebody? Let's say somebody's listening to this and they're old school, everything's pen and paper. They have zero AI. I don't care if this goes down to Chat GPT level AI, but what is something you would recommend to people if they're not using anything at all?
I would recommend at least trying it out. Even if you don't use it day to day, try it out. Because I think AI is advancing at such a crazy pace today that you either got to learn with it or, I mean,
You're definitely going to get left behind.
Yep,
Well, I feel
yep.
they have to learn to use it because we're exposed to it. There's so many things that have AI technology now that we don't even realize the software behind it. So it's just getting lightly familiar with it just is great. I think of, I had a friend recently that was all against ChatGPT just because of whatever. And she just tried it for replicate a recipe that we had somewhere, and she couldn't Google it. And you can, but it's going to take some digging, whereas with ChatGPT you can be I had this type of dessert, can you help me figure out what components go in it to make it? And she was able to find the recipe and try it out, and it helped replicate something that I don't know. So it's just find your
strike a balance kind of.
or just find your niche of how you could use it for your own personal thing. It doesn't have to be this big grand thing. It could just be simply finding a recipe.
Yeah, and also if you're a person who wants to limit their AI usage, I still recommend doing some market research, understanding how it's kind of shaping our market today and just the digital world itself, because it is changing drastically, and just being informed on that topic in general is great for conversations, but also great to just know so you can be prepared for what's going to happen.
Definitely.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. AI definitely needs a personal touch.
Oh, 100%.
Because everything's going to be so standardized, I guess, per AI. So it needs a human touch.
Yeah, I definitely think there's going to be a time where there's going to have to be a person in between the AI and the output at all times. Even though the AI can create stuff faster than the human can, you absolutely still need a human touch, especially in like as we're recording this, whenever this is released. Yes, we had talked about it on a past episode. I tried to just create short form content and let it just do it by itself, and it's not always the best to just let it go without any bumpers up for some reason. You know, I don't know. I just think that you need to at least be able to kind of defend yourself against it, but it's really great at doing a lot of the work.
Definitely.
Yeah, I would definitely say like basic research, like you had mentioned, it kind of weeds out some of the junk, but at the same time, it's not a definitive answer. You know, it might be 80% correct, and you got to go through and figure out what it's actually saying that's just nonsense. But it does work pretty well for a lot of that stuff.
Absolutely. And also human intervention, like that's kind of how we interact, is human interaction. So having that human touch to everything that you do will not only make your brand feel more authentic, it'll drive more attraction to your website or your whatever it is that you're building to show to your clients or customers.
Yeah, exactly. I don't get drawn to AI flyers as I do like a human flyer. I don't know how to explain that.
Mm-hmm. We've talked about this a lot lately.
Yeah.
Like it's, if you build something, but you build it from scratch and it does not look the best, it's probably still going to feel more authentic to who you are and what you do as a brand, because you put the time and effort to do that. And people like that. People like to see that. It feels authentic, feels real, feels tied to who you are.
Put time into it rather than just throwing it into an AI generator.
Mm-hmm. Or I think of like, I'm not going to bash it too much, but I just think of like with AI, like you can see like a sheen to it. Mm-hmm. I don't know how to describe like what the right terminology for it is, but like it just, as soon as you see that, it like immediately turns me off, which is like nothing against the creator making it, because content is like I'm not trying to bash it in that way, but it just definitely triggers something in my mind where I'm just like, oh, this isn't right. So,
well, for sure. Yeah, you kind of develop a sense of AI where you are finally able to kind of understand like, oh, this is definitely AI from a first glance.
Yep.
Now, I will say there have been a couple of TikToks that have fooled me, because I was like, a room full of puppies wearing really cool coats. Like, I love this. This is awesome. And I got so excited. I was like, oh, I should have known.
Like, they're getting so good at making the video content, and like you like have to watch it for a little bit and you're just like, wait, something doesn't feel right. And then that's when you're like, oh, this is AI.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was on a podcast not terribly long ago talking about AI and posters. And I always thought that like if you used the AI to make the components for the poster, like I'd be okay with that. But to use it, the whole thing is just nonsense. Plus we had talked about if it's like a blocky logo for a band or a company and it's just slapped in there on, like, I think that looks better than something that's been AI'd to death. And it's like,
or like the font's a little bit changed, or the person looks just a little bit different. It's just.
Yeah. Also, if you're going to create AI flyers with like a whole pile of text on it, do your proofreading.
Oh, that.
And the other thing is like, how hard is it? It's tough to tell AI, like, you spelled this word wrong, redo it, and then might respell something else wrong.
Exactly. Or like completely change the look of it. Or if you're using like a limited version of it, you can't create another graphic or something to that degree.
All right. So AI, we've definitely discussed that a lot, but we do like AI here. There are things we use AI for, and there are things that we like to use it for with a lot of human intervention and some things with less human intervention. But definitely, if you're not looking into it at all, call somebody that knows anything about it and talk to them about it. Okay, so a simple marketing tip every business should follow. The follow-up question to this was branding versus content versus ads. I know this isn't 1,000% our area because we do most of the background work, and we do have like a lead here that's Cheryl that does most of the what I call front of house work. But what's your guys' thoughts on branding versus content versus ads?
I was going to say, this is Megan's specialty.
Yes.
I was just going to say right off the bat, I'm just going to say branding trumps all. Branding is what you build the other two topics off of completely. If you have an established brand, that is, some deliverables don't always require to be that brand heavy, but as someone who really wants to specialize in branding, I feel like that's kind of the backbones of everything for me.
Yeah, I would definitely agree, because like, how many times have you guys been scrolling through, let's say watching short form videos, and you see something that's funny and you're like, oh, this is really funny. Then you scroll a while and you see another one. You're like, it's the same person. It's funny, and then, but they don't have like a logo anywhere. And maybe these are on like what I would call them like snipe accounts. So people are just like stealing the content and putting it. So I don't know where this actually came from. There's no logo. There's no nothing. And then I don't know who it is, all because somebody didn't brand a reel.
Yep.
Which, can happen. But that's the one thing I guess I thought about with branding. Recently I'd seen that because I was trying to figure out what podcast did this come from, and I couldn't figure it out. And I never figured it out because there's no branding on it.
When you were talking about that, I thought of the Savannah Bananas.
Oh, yeah.
Because they have their branding. They have a certain kind of vibe that they go for in every video. They're funny to watch, entertaining. At least I think so.
Oh, 100% agree.
But yeah, no, they're very fun. And I will say also, branding can be a logo. It can be a mission. It can be a statement about the brand or how the brand wants to feel and how that reflects to their audience. So that kind of, again, that's why I feel like it's the essential backbone to everything else.
I agree.
Fully agree. I do have a question on here, and maybe this will get edited out, maybe not. Weird or funny client requests. Maybe we don't need to go directly into that, but like, has there ever been something where you're just like watching the way people do stuff and you're like, that seems a little bit odd, but at the same time we had talked about earlier, maybe that fits their brand. Maybe that fits the speed of what they're going for. I can't think of anything like right off the top of my head because the longer I work here, the less things surprise me. I always think that like, this is the way it is and this is the way it should be. And somebody does something a new way and you're like, well, that worked. So I guess I'm, again, we're quote unquote experts, but the internet is good at proving people wrong. Mm-hmm. Has there ever been anything where you're like, ooh, I don't know about this? Because I mean, like we had talked, if you go way back to the Spin It episodes, we were kind of down talking printed material, but now printed material kind of works again.
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on the customer or like their business, what they want to reach.
All right. So how about a trend that's going on right now that you might not necessarily care for so much? The obvious one is we had talked about the positives and negatives, but AI is the easy one to point at right now. Any of you guys have anything different on that topic?
I'm trying to think in the terms of design trends.
Yeah.
I will say that I'm not very much of a designer, but at the same time, I will find myself following trends that I don't realize that I'm doing it. And the trends are usually old because I'm not like, I would say like design forward like you guys are. I see something and I'm like, oh, this looks pretty good. And then you go look at other stuff and you're like, oh, people were making stuff like this 5 years ago. It's changed. And I'm not always good at following those trends. That's why you guys are here.
I don't feel like I'm too much of a trend follower myself, to be honest, because like, I mean, I don't actively go and look up what are the design trends and then I want to follow them, but it's more so I see something that I like and I might save it to my library of like inspirational photos that kind of
styles,
help. Yeah.
But not necessarily trends.
Yeah. I will say I am pretty typography, I wouldn't say savvy, but I really enjoy typography. So there's certain fonts and brand colors that I enjoy pairings of.
There is something special about finding a pair of fonts that work well together.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. I still I made a music video for someone way back in the day, and the cover art for it uses two fonts that don't go together. And it's like ludicrously blatantly obvious to me now, but like then I was like, yeah, it looks fine. But yeah, two fonts on the same poster that are different is like the hardest thing ever to me, and I don't know why.
Yep. As far as design trends, now that I think of it, and we're talking about font pairings, this is gonna sound very hater-esque of me, but when I see a wedding invite that has 5 different script fonts on it, drives me nuts because half the time you can't read one or two of them, and it just, they don't tie in together because they're script fonts and they might look nice, but I do believe that script fonts should be used somewhat sparingly.
Yes. It's usually for like one sentence out of the entire thing, just because they are harder to read.
Well, I think of like they use it for like their names, and then everything else is in like solid font.
Like Roman italics or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, or like at the top, it's like, you're cordially invited, and then it's all normal until it gets to their names. Then it's the same font, just smaller or whatever. But yeah, even blending like a script font with a regular font, I'd probably trip up on that one because it's really not that easy. One of the funnest things though, I used some fonts for some stuff I was doing, and it was Montserrat. And that was like one that I was like, what's a nice, easy font I could throw into here? Because I didn't want to think about it, and you're better at it, and you just yelled across the hall. Just use
My
Montserrat.
immediate answer was Montserrat because it's just so clean. It's geometric. It feels very versatile. It works for most things. So I love using that one. Another fun one for anyone who's listening who's designery, but Cubano, very fun font. It's very playful and childlike. Love that one too.
That's awesome. I will say, maybe if we're going to go back to like what's something that kind of like bugs you about whatever, this, that, and the other, like people that use like Chalk Duster or like, Comic Sans.
Oh gosh.
I'm trying to think
Papyrus.
of just Papyrus. I made a whole website in Papyrus probably 20 years ago. So
that's rough.
yeah, look at him just glaring at me right now.
Don't ever let the world see that.
No, it's gone now.
Keep it hidden.
I don't even think it's in the Wayback Machine. So, all right. So I'm going to ask you some other questions here. These are kind of like quick fire type ones, but let's kind of just broad stroke through this. Would you guys rather use Instagram, TikTok, or LinkedIn for marketing? You have to choose one. You can qualify it if you want to, but which one?
That's so difficult to choose the best one because they all have different possibilities, different formats, and different. I'm losing words right now. It's so hard to choose. Yeah, it's so hard to choose the best option because I feel like LinkedIn is obviously great for connecting with people. Some people hate it. I sometimes don't love LinkedIn, but yeah, it's too professional. I think Instagram would be my favorite because it's more laid back and the Reels posting is way better.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Instagram. Yep. And you're probably reaching a better variety.
Oh, for sure. Like more creatives. That's kind of what the purpose of Instagram is for, right? Just to kind of share artwork or share photos. So having that ability as a creative is probably the most important for me.
How about you, Mackenzie?
I mean, I'm an active, I think the only social media I really use is TikTok. So, and I have like mad respect for people who create content on TikTok, especially for marketing, because they put such thought in the editing and like, I feel like it's a much more bigger content.
I love when people loop videos together.
Yes.
Like it's someone getting hit in the head and then they loop that into their own marketing video somehow. So you don't even realize it's an ad and they're actually so funny to watch. Yes. Yeah, there's a guy getting thrown across the room and landing into a pile of chairs. Yeah, and he turned that into his marketing tactic. I love it.
They make it look so seamless and I'm just like, it blows me away. So like if I had the skill set that they have, I would totally do TikTok.
Oh, for sure.
Yep.
So I do want to say that like that is something in my own, I like to call it like guerrilla marketing or like, maybe viral marketing. You're literally just stealing trends, borrowing them from your own purpose and then recreating it in, something that you can use to market. I was really big on doing that with like bands back in the day when I was doing some of this stuff. And it works so well to just kind of like borrow the like 10% of someone's idea to the point where if somebody watched it, they're like, oh, I know what this is. And then it instantly changes to whatever you're doing. Again, it feels like a bait and switch, but at the same time,
it's so good. Like I feel like it works so well. I have so much fun with it. Or like people, it's just a perfect segue, and it just like it makes it more wholesome or like more connected, or just it's super.
Yeah, cool. I love piggybacking. I love when people do that. Also, I feel like our generation or just younger people today are we love to have something that we can connect with, obviously, but something that feels familiar already. So when you see a trend that's already been done, you're like, automatically, you know what it is. Exactly. And we all get the reference because we're chronically online. It's great.
And I feel like it, I can't remember how it like makes it more dialed back or like not as serious, but like in the best way possible. So it like adds the perfect level of humor where it's like not so out of pocket. But.
Yes, definitely. And kind of that human touch like we were talking about earlier, where it's not so big marketing words, buzzwords talk, because it's so easy to skim over that stuff and see stuff that we can actually relate to.
Literally, and I made me think of, because you said the big words, I saw one last night where it was like a bank and they had signs that were like wire transfer, and it's like a person having the wire in their hand. They give it to like the middleman and then they give it to the person who's accepting the wire transfer, and it's just like an actual wire. I
love that so
much.
Where
it's like showing what they do as a business, but like in a very fun, digestible way. That's like my favorite type of content.
Yep. And I saw one of the questions today was, what are like common misconceptions of marketing and what do you feel like it actually is based on our field of work? And that just made me think of, there's this TikTok profile, and it's like long-haired marketing men or something like that. And they're all just sitting at a conference table, all wearing really long wigs. And they're like, yeah, I'll piggyback off of you with that. Or let's put a pin in that. And just using the big marketing slang words. But the truth is, it's never like that. Like, I mean, maybe some companies are, but we're real people. We have real conversations. And I think that's the beauty of it all.
Definitely.
All right. I think this next question might incite a small riot from this end of the room if you guys answer incorrectly. Dark mode or light mode?
Dark.
Okay, I hear you guys all say that. I've seen a few of you guys with apps that are still stuck on their light mode.
Okay, but they don't make it easy to change it, or you didn't even know that was an option to change it.
All I gotta say is if anything's on light mode when I show up, I'm throwing stuff in the street.
You're out for the day. I gotta go home.
Yeah, I mean, I can deal with a lot of stuff, but if somebody hands me a computer that's on light mode, or a phone, you open up an app or anything, it's dark mode all the time.
Yep, dark mode, or I send it back.
Yep.
Same with overhead lights.
We just stare at a screen so long.
Yep.
It needs to be on dark mode.
Yeah, because then I stare at a screen all day, and then I can go home and stare at my other 2 screens all day. But at least they're in dark mode.
Right.
Yeah.
Keep it consistent.
That's awesome. Okay, this is a goofy one. Canva or Adobe? We definitely we're going to lean one way on this one, but what do you guys think?
Adobe.
Yep. Adobe 100%. Just because that's where I learned the fundamentals. That's what I know. That's what the most customizability is located in.
I think with Canva, it has its place, but...
Yeah, I think of like with you guys going to school for it and you were taught with the Adobe software, it definitely makes sense to choose that. But I feel like people who are put in the marketing position who, like, for example, I went to school for marketing, but I never took any graphic design classes. And then when you think of marketing today, it's a lot of graphic design. It's a lot of digital stuff. But like, I didn't have any of those coursework, and going into this, if I didn't have you guys, I'd most likely use Canva because it's
user-friendly.
Yeah. Or it provides like more example-based stuff where I feel like with Adobe, you can find the examples, but you still have to understand the software, how to incorporate those examples.
It's going to be much more customizable.
Yeah.
Definitely helps to bridge the gap too with clients, because I've had one client where they only knew Canva, and they only had access to that. So then we started on Canva, and then it was a trade-off so that she could create more templates from the one that I built for her through Canva. That was like the only time I've used it, but honestly, I could see it being versatile for people who are not super graphic design heavy on their work.
Definitely.
Yeah, I definitely think the template ability out of Canva is good, but again, that's the whole like AI for posters thing. Like, it can get dangerous pretty quick if you're just templating and then just like, I'm not going to change colors, I'm not going to change fonts, I'm not going to change anything. You still do have some customizability in Canva, but I like it for the simplicity, I guess. I don't necessarily use it because I grew up on Photoshop, but again, I'm not as good at it as you guys. But like, you guys are using like Illustrator and all the other ones, and I'm still like 1,000 years old using Photoshop. I remember the first Photoshop I used was Photoshop 4, if anybody wants to like really date me. But that was like 1996 or something. So I'm still stuck in that era, but I basically just use like a scrapbooking tool, like in all essence. It's just like, just throw the layers on there in the way you want them to and blur what you want and whatever. I don't know. But Canva, had I never done any of this, I'd be leaning into Canva so hard right now. Just because it's, if you know nothing, it helps,
for sure,
but if you know some of it, definitely Photoshop gives you way more abilities to do a lot of stuff, or any Adobe product even. You can just export it from one to the next and do whatever you need to do and then go right back. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a
for
nice
sure.
feature. And Photoshop is one of the best.
I will agree on that. I do like Photoshop probably the best, because I mean, the photo manipulation tools that there are available, there's so many different options. There's different routes you can go, and you can find LinkedIn tutorials like, how to crop an image, even just very simple things in Photoshop. So there's definitely resources available for everyone. It's just a matter of getting access to the Adobe products. That's
there is a fee with it.
Yep.
But
yeah, I guess Canva it has their free options. But the one thing with the free options is there's a lot of people using those certain templates. So
it can get it's not as personal anymore.
Yeah.
Bingo. So I think that just opens up the can of worms of like, if you're only using the free option, you only have a bare minimum of tools and everyone else has those same exact tools, and how are you going to stand out if you're using the same tools everyone else is using? You know, if you're just going to drive a little black sedan like everyone else is, like I do, you know, you're not going to stand out that much, you know. Doesn't mean you need to get a big old monster truck, but at the same time,
If that's what you're after, you might have to go a different avenue.
yes. All right. So we're getting close to the end here. What advice would you give someone that wants to get into marketing? I think Mackenzie had a pretty good one when she was talking about how, like, when you worked here, there was something that had you known you were going to be doing more of this and these two weren't here, you would have done a little bit more graphic design work. But what do you guys think? What would you do differently?
I think a big part of marketing is obviously communication. And by that, I would say making as much connections as possible with other people, because so many opportunities open up when you do that. Like, it's not even just learning from them. You can learn so much from people with different backgrounds, but having those connections if you need someone to help you with whatever the case is. But yeah, that would be my biggest point. I'll probably think of another one later, but
That's a really good one, though.
I agree. Networking and connections are literally how the world works. Like, that's how I got my job here. So.
exactly.
That's how I got my job. Because I mean, I've said it before on this podcast, but like, I have an accounting degree. Like, we're doing graphic design and video and audio and photo and logos and like websites and the whole 9 yards here, digital advertise. Like, it has nothing to do with accounting, you know? So I don't know, but I did know somebody that knew people here, and I had done a lot of hobby jobs in this area. So I ended up, you know, weaseling my way into the bottom rung of the ladder here, and it was kind of nice. But yeah, you guys are definitely the real heroes here for sure when it comes down to doing this work, because there's so many times I just go across the hall, I'm like, help, you know, just you guys please just make this easy for me, you know. And that's the benefit of having people that are professionals do this. Anybody else got any good advice for anybody looking to do?
I was going to say, you're far too kind, because I feel like when I got into this, like, or just the marketing world in general, I kind of was very intimidated. I was like, this is going to be very high tense professional. I have to stay as which you do. Obviously, professionalism is very important. But I think to a certain extent, there's some leeway, because at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all just trying to do our best here.
Hiding in our little hole.
Yes, yeah. And as graphic designers, we tend to hide away. So I think that was one thing, was when I got into the profession of graphic design, I was like, I don't have to talk to people that much. But that's not the case at all.
No.
Not even remotely. So that would be my biggest takeaway, is don't let intimidation scare you. Just get out there and start networking, talking to people, even if it's just a simple little conversation. And yeah, life advice from Megan. Anyways.
Yeah, making those connections is seriously something that we use a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you brought it up. Sorry for that mic muting. But anyways, you brought it up. Like, this was just a hobby for me. You know, like, I do a lot of the podcast stuff here, and this is just something that was a hobby for me. I didn't think I'd fit in professionally, and then I showed up here, and it's like, oh, I can actually add something to this, you know, as opposed to I just thought I was going to be a fly on the wall, just taking up space and ruining everyone's day. But at the same time, now I realize that, you know, you just don't doubt yourself. If this is something you want to do, I'm not as creative as these people. Well, guess what? Someone might be looking exactly for your creativity. Like, that might be the thing they want. So you never do really know.
And guess what? Also, if you are more creative and maybe you don't have the ability to take a full-time job as a creative as you want to, there's always different facets of marketing that you can go down. Like, there's so many programs and different avenues that kind of go hand in hand. So you can always take on marketing, even if it sounds big and scary. It's really not.
All right. So we're getting really close to the end of this. I don't know if I'm going to ask these last two questions, but let's talk about something in marketing that kind of just, it's the same question I always ask. How has marketing impacted your life? But what's something in marketing you saw recently where you were just like, boom, got me? I've got an easy one. I listen to, I don't watch a whole lot of movies. I know a guy that has a movie review podcast, and I just recently was kind of going through it, listening to it, and I found myself like watching the movies he was talking about. It's not necessarily directly marketing. He doesn't work for the companies. He wasn't promoting these movies or anything, but just the way that they were kind of talking about it, and it made me laugh and smile. And I was like, you know, I'm gonna try and extend this feeling to when I get home, and I'm gonna pop the DVD in or go on, you know, Amazon Prime and watch it. That was one that, like, recently I was like, oh, got me. So
one thing I would recommend, highly recommend, is I saw this video. It was a documentary by, I can't remember his first name. Ferguson was his last name, but it's called Everything is a Remix. And that completely changed the way I view a lot of things, because don't get me wrong, I know that you can't always reinvent the wheel, but that gave me a different viewpoint on everything is completely made from something else. Like nothing is ever from the start. And I think that kind of helped me with my muses, my inspirations. It kind of helped me understand that everything starts from something. Just go watch it. I would highly recommend.
You have recommended that to us in the past, and I
Yes.
still have missed it. I got to write it down.
It's like my favorite video now.
It's on my to-do list.
I mean, I would agree. We had kind of mentioned that, like if you're going to, I always think like, don't worry about like, oh, I'm going to steal someone else's idea. Just borrow it and then make it your own,
Yep.
And that's exactly like what you're talking about.
Exactly.
Anybody else got anything marketing that lately you're just like, hey, I saw this and now I got it.
I feel like that's just with anything. Like marketing is so important. Like even the food you buy, it was marketed somehow.
I think about that McDonald's Big Arch sandwich that guy like just barely bit. Like as dumb that's their CEO like barely took a bite out of it that went viral online. But like as dumb as it sounds, now everyone knows about the Big Arch sandwich.
That is true.
Maybe it was on
Like
purpose.
even bad press can be good press sometimes.
It just depends how you react to
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I can't believe there weren't more. I talked to one business and told them to do it, but I should have just emailed everyone and said, do this. The local restaurants in town here could have had an absolute heyday with that trend.
Oh, for sure.
yeah.
And nobody did. It's like, hey, McDonald's, this is how you do it. Tag McDonald's, tag whatever, sneakers or whatever, and just boom, go. But I didn't see a single one of them jump in on that trend. And those are the things that I think that like, yeah, this is the internet and this is what's polluting it. But at the same time, that's the funny stuff to me.
Yep.
That's the stuff that I'm going to laugh at.
And that's how viral marketing takes off, is everything is a reference to another thing. Again, everything's a remix. So you have one piece that ties into this and people are like, oh, I recognize that. And then they share it because it's recognizable, it's it feels memorable to them.
Yeah, and the people who are eating locally are going to share it because it's their local place to eat.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's extra funny when it's someone you know too.
Yeah,
exactly.
I don't know.
I agree.
I feel like this was a really good episode, guys. I do want to say that the more I work here, the more thankful I am for you guys doing the things you do, because I would not be able to do what I do without you guys. And I know that sounds cheesy, but that is 100%. I couldn't have made that logo back there. I couldn't have done all the graphics for all the stuff. Sometimes I'm like, hey, help me. Where would you put this? This is what I'm working with. Don't change it. Make it super professional. Just tell me what to do with what I have, because sometimes I'll ask you guys for stuff and you're like, I did this. And I'm like, that's too confusing for me. We need to dumb this back down for me. But I do want to say thank you guys for what you do, whether it's Mackenzie interacting with the clients, Megan doing graphic design work for me, Abby, same deal. You're editing websites and stuff. It's like, hey, just go into this website and take this off of here real quick for me. And like, I mean, I could do it, but I don't want to ruin stuff. So thank you guys. I really do appreciate it.
Well, we appreciate you doing all the podcast work and doing all the hosting and everything that you do for podcasts. It's something that I can do.
You've really made the podcast great.
Not even just the podcast, Spin Market itself.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yep, we're trying one day at a time. We're gonna get up there, and we're gonna be one of those big companies eventually. But yeah, I'll tell you what, this has been a fun ride here with the three of you. Just one day at a time. I don't know. It's thank you guys for joining me on the podcast though too. I mean, like I'm sitting behind the desk and I was like, you guys sit over there and I'll sit over here and we'll see what happens. So
It's a fun twist.
yeah, thanks for entertaining me for this. I really do appreciate it.
I'm going to do Cheryl's bit right now, which is Buster the Bulldog. She
Okay.
always says that we're a buster for people, our clients, our guests.
We're a bulldog for them.
Yes.
We're a
Wow.
We're a buster.
Yeah, we're a buster for you. No, but we are a bulldog. And yeah, we just have to have Megan rub Buster's head because we're bulldogs for her and for her adventures ahead. So we just wish you luck.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan.
Gonna cry.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you guys.
This podcast is produced by Spin Market and Digital. Located in Fort Dodge, Iowa, Spin Market's highly skilled team can help you increase your market by updating your website, improving SEO, designing advertisements, and producing podcasts that will grab the attention of your market. Contact Spin Market today for all your digital marketing needs at digitalagent@spinmarket.com or call us at 515-302-8026. And to learn more, visit our website at www.spinmarketwith2ks.com. That's digital agent at spinmarketwith2ks.com or 515-302-8026. Or visit our website at www.spinmarketwith2ks.com.